So here's the key. This is what I want you to do as your next assignment. I want you to take this paradigm for the nominals, what are called the case endings, and I want you to recreate it by writing it down. Now the key here is that you work as fast as possible. You need to first of all figure out what the underlying patterns are, and then you need to write those down 10 or 20 times until you can easily reproduce this table. It's going to help you recognize patterns in the nominals. Just to put this in perspective, in many Greek textbooks you'll learn loads of paradigms. You'll have to memorize a paradigm for the masculine forms, a paradigm for the feminine forms, a paradigm for the neuter forms. You'll have to memorize a whole new set of paradigms for the third declension forms. They'll give you all kinds of special cases like eta stems for the feminine and alpha stems, and then mixed alpha eta stems, and so on. We're just going to do this one nominals paradigm. This is going to show you all the endings that you need to know to start reading Greek, and that's our goal. And later we'll do one more paradigm for the verbal endings. So while there's more details you can always dig into later if you're interested, this is what you need to get started. So in the remainder of this lecture, I'll point out some of the key patterns in this paradigm that will help you memorize it. First of all, I want to say that when you write this, you should write it in the same order every time. Figure out something that works for you and just write it as this process, like you're following a story or something like that. In fact, if you could tell yourself a story while you write this, you would memorize it very quickly. But however you decide to do it, there's a few things to note. So we have the sigma, we have no ending for the feminine, and we have a nu. And the final two, we have sigma or nothing, nothing or sigma. The reason you have some of these slashed endings or alternate possibilities is because I've combined multiple paradigms into this one. It makes it easier to learn. Now let's note next that the third declension genitives right below the sigma or nothing or sigma endings have omicron sigma. So you have two possibilities here and two letters right here. Looking back, we have U, S, U. And by the way, that's one of the ways I remember this is just by thinking of the letters themselves as if they were English letters. And then for the datives, it's nice and easy. We have, I'm going to actually change colors here. We've got iota all the way across. Now the way this usually looks is an omega with an iota subscript or an eta with an iota subscript or an omega. So you can add those in if you want, if it helps you remember what you're looking for. Now let's go to the next color. We've got 3 nus in a row down here. And for the third declension accusatives, we have an alpha and nothing or sigma. Now the nice thing is this nothing or sigma matches exactly right here. So that can be one thing that helps you remember. Now when we move to the plurals, I have a bit of an interesting pattern that I go through here, but I start with the omicron iota, alpha iota, and you can remember that difference because second declension words end their stem in an omicron, and first declensions end them in an alpha. And then we have this alpha in the neuters, but you'll notice there's all of the neuter plurals for nominative or accusative are identical. So I write that out exactly in that order. Alpha, 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 alpha. Then let's change the color again. And we'll go with all of the genitive plurals, which are, in this case, or in every case rather, identical. Now something else you'll notice is that all of the dative plurals actually have an iota as well. So you can begin by writing out those iotas, just like in the singular. So you can remember those are doing the same thing there. But in this case we have omicron, iota sigma, which you can remember the omicron goes with the second declension endings. And this one also is omicron iota sigma, so these two are matching right here. Then we have alpha iota sigma, and then we have sigma, and then this nu in brackets here just means it's a movable nu. That means sometimes it's there on the end, sometimes it's not. If the next word starts with a vowel, then the nu will be there. Think about the English word an or a. Looks like an alpha. But if you say a word like an apple, you wouldn't say a apple because we don't like putting two vowel sounds together, so we add in the letter n. That's very similar to what they did in Greek in this case. Now finally we can fill in the rest of them with an interesting little pattern. We have USA, like the United States of America I suppose, another SA, so USA, SA, and then we have AS or ES, really alpha sigma or epsilon sigma, and the top one is epsilon sigma. So these two are matching here. These two are matching here. And this US is all on its own in the corner. So that was an example of me writing out this paradigm. You can start to do this really quickly. It takes about 30 seconds or so once you get good at it. Now you should practice writing this out about 10 times. Put a little checkbox for yourself. Do something like this at the top of your page. 10 check marks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have 10 check boxes right there, and then you can just, after you write one out, check it off, and then do it again. Check off the next one, and so on until you've done 10. And then do a final bonus one where you don't look at all. Don't peek at the paradigm. Just try to do it completely from memory. This will help you see where you're missing the pattern, and then you can try to notice what kind of patterns you see and see what you can do to memorize those things that are missing, to fill in those gaps.